Thanks for joining us today to watch this video. We appreciate all the input that has gone into this and all the hard work. But we want you to be able to see the vision for the First Baptist Church of Streetsboro. A few weeks ago, I presented to our church on a Sunday morning what's happened in the past and what we're planning for in the future. And I just want you to have that information so that hopefully you'll want to become part of this family, get on board, and help us accomplish God's vision for this area. So please take some time today and watch this. And we thank you so much. If there's any way that we can help you or you'd like to get on board, you contact us here and we'll show you what you can do. Thanks.
Nothing happens, nothing that we do happens because of one person. When you're in the Lord's work, of course, and especially as a church, everything that has happened in the last, in the sake of the merger with New Testament, with First Baptist, 15 years, more than 15 years of work by the people of the New Testament Baptist Church, and 40-some years with Pastor Grubaugh and the people of First Baptist. All of that energy and all of that work being put together comes to a point today where we are and we're able to accomplish what we are able to accomplish. As each and every person is saved and brought into the body and begins to grow spiritually, they add another dimension to what we can accomplish, what our skills and capabilities are. And so each and every person, you may see somebody, perhaps they're a Sunday school, a bus kid here, but you have no idea what the Lord is going to use them in the future to do. Our RU program, maybe that person had just come in this past week, has an addiction problem, but you have no idea what their background is. You have no idea what skill sets they possess right now. Perhaps it's just a family moving new into the area, and we don't know exactly how they're going to impact this whole process. But growth is all about trying to fit those things together and make it work for the benefit of the Lord Jesus Christ. Where we are, 2011 in review. We have accomplished much in 2011. And the first thing I want to show you this morning is adult church visitor attendance. The orange line that you see at the bottom here was our last year visitors, 2010. And you can see that almost in every situation we have a higher amount of first-time adult visitors in the services throughout every month of this year. And it's a tremendous increase. Total adult visitors during 2011 in this auditorium, 395 adult visitors. That's a lot of adult visitors in here. This does not include visitors to RU. This does not include visitors to Full Throttle. This does not include visitors to different parts of the ministry where we've touched people's lives. Only in the service is 395 first-time adult visitors. Our building renovation this past year, we've done much. We renovated the vast majority of the auditorium here. We still have some work to do. We did the bathrooms this year. We put the sound booth in. We rerouted a whole lot of the sound stuff. We did the lighting here. We did office space. I needed some office space, and so we put an office in. If you haven't come back to see me yet, thankfully, you haven't needed to, but you come back and pay me a visit. We've also spruced up some space there. We put the bathrooms in, which was a big project, and got some great things done there. And of course, all of us are enjoying those things. The school, the starting of the school. We have 26 students in the school this year already. We just remodeled in the last several days the back classroom, Tom Berry's adult Sunday school classroom, for the use of Full Throttle, and had over 40 teenagers in Full Throttle on Friday night. The nursery, we have accomplished the remodeling and the putting up of these new areas here and restructuring the nursery program. Eric Christian, Julie Christian's husband, paints murals. He's getting ready. We have the paint and everything sitting back there right now, and he's going to begin finishing the drawings that Jordan Howard put on the walls for us. We're able to get all kinds of new nursery equipment. We created a whole bunch of new ministries this year, primarily Crossroads Christian Academy. Principal Brother Kevin and our teachers have done a tremendous job. The school we're going through the growing pains of a first year, but we're stabilizing everything. Also, RU Full Throttle, we talked about that. Like I said, a little barely controlled Christian chaos, and as you can see, the kids are having fun there. Also, our bus ministry. Our bus ministry has done a tremendous job this year, and we're so thankful for the workers in the bus ministry. We've seen many souls saved and many new people coming to the church, adults and children alike. We have several families that have joined directly from the bus route because they were reached through the bus ministry. Moms and dads are here. They're having dinner at my house. They're here on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. They're participating and helping out, different things. They're connected people now, and they're part of the First Baptist Church of Streetsboro because of the bus ministry. Souls saved in 2010, Saturday soul winning 30, church services 5, RU services 12, personal soul winning 40, last year of a total of 87. Baptism total last year was 11. In 2010, Saturday soul winning was 42, church services was 43, RU services were 11, personal soul winning totals 108, a total of 204 souls saved. That's what we know of. That's a lot of you aren't. I begged you, please let me know when somebody gets saved. It's just what we know of. I need you to keep records, and if you win somebody to Christ, I need to know that. But the biggest tremendous average that's gone up is our baptism total. If you look at it, the baptism total of 49 people baptized this year. That's almost one every week on average, and so that's a tremendous total to have, and we're shooting past that in 2012. Our offerings, tremendous. As you see the green line there on the bottom, those are the offerings of 2009. The offerings of 2010 are the blue line. The offerings of 2011. Now last year we had a little bit of a bigger Trade Places with God's Sunday than we did this year, and that's the difference in the spike there on the blue line above the red line. The red line is our offering totals for 2011. And those offering totals in 2009, $148,599 there. 2010, $214,206. Offering totals in 2011, $302,000 and some change. That's tremendous growth financially here in the church. But we have a lot to do. We need that kind of growth, and we need that kind of continued faithfulness. Average weekly offerings, 2009, we've got $28.57.68. In 2010, we went up to $41.19.35. In 2011, our average weekly offerings, this is averaging out over the course of the year, all the money that comes in, $5,818 a week. That is very, very sound. And it's only because you guys are being faithful. We're going to have, in March, we're going to have our Stewardship Month again, where we talk about giving and show how God blesses. And I can't wait for that. I'm excited about it. And so you can see the averages are going up there. Where we're going for 2012 and beyond. And these are the projects on my desk right now. So, all right, hindrances to our long-term growth. First of all, lack of adequate parking. I'm sure you experienced that again this morning. And we have put together some parking stuff that we're working on, and we're going to continue expanding a little bit here and there where we can without spending tremendous amounts of money. We need to milk our parking as much as we can. Your patience is appreciated with that. Also, our lack of seating. Realistically, no one is really uncomfortable here this morning, but this is past normal church capacity already. Our auditorium this morning right now is more than 75% full. At 75%, you're considered full today. People don't like to feel so tough. We have to compensate in the future for our seating potential. And here's the thing. We need to grow forward with where we're going to be down the road, not where we're going to be next week or in a year. We need to start thinking, where are we going to be 2 years from now, and what do we need to do to make that happen? Short-term growth solutions. Next, limited parking expansion. Talked about that. We're going to put some energies into the parking lot this spring. We're going to refigure and rethink, and you're going to have to, I'm begging you to be patient with us, and please don't run over our parking guards when they haven't given you the spot that you like, okay? I've told all of our parking guards, listen, fellas, the worst thing that you can ever do as a parking lot attendant is lose your temper with somebody. And they're like, yes, sir, Pastor, yes, sir. And so I've told them, please don't get angry with anyone. If you do, just let the air out of their tires while they're in the service, and you can get them back that way, all right? And but we do need to make some expansion in our parking so that we accommodate the growth. Roger Whitaker does a lot of observation for me on the parking lot. And on several Sundays where we have actually been paying attention, we're having people drive up in here and during service time, drive around the parking lot, be discouraged because they can't find an easy space and drive off the lot. That's a sale killer, friends. We need those people in the services here. And if we had better parking, they would be in here on those mornings when they've come. Who knows how many times that's happened. We've just watched it a few times, and the few times that we've watched it, we're seeing multiple cars doing this. And so we have to work on our limited parking. All right, secondly, split the Sunday morning service. This is a consideration that we can have in the interim process, and that is having 2 main services on a Sunday morning, to where we have an early church service earlier in the morning. Then we go to Sunday school. Then the people that are in the morning service go to Sunday school, and the people that are coming for the later service, we both have Sunday school at the same time. Then on top of that, we'll have the regular time service. This is a consideration. Nobody likes to do this, except for people that like to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and don't have anything to do with that's just they wake up and they're like, hey, how you doing? It's 3:30 a.m. And those kinds of people, I can never understand them. But anyways, that's who they are. They're the ones that like the early service. But it's one of our short-term ways we can accommodate our growth, is splitting the services into 2, which might very well be something that we have to have. Now, let me just say, none of this is in stone. We haven't really confirmed anything, but are the things that we're going to have to face as we grow into the future. All right, our plans for long-term growth. The Nehemiah Project. I've talked with the men. We've had several meetings now, and we are thinking that we have to build. We're not going to accommodate for any lengthy period of time the numbers that we're going to be reaching into very far into the future. We're not going to be able to accommodate that. We're already strapped for Sunday school space tremendously. As you can see, we can accommodate some, a double service here, perhaps a Saturday evening service, some other things to accommodate some of our crowd. But we need to think beyond next week, and we need to think beyond next year. We need to think, where are we going to be several years from now? These kinds of decisions can't be made when they need to be made. They have to be made before they're needed to be made. Because you can't make decisions like this and create plans like this overnight. These are lengthy, lots of money, drawn-out processes that have to be addressed in a long-term plan. And so I talked with the men, and they have given me permission to speak with you about the idea of going forward with a long-term building program. We're calling this the Nehemiah Project, and I'm going to present some things to you. The building that you see here is nothing probably like what we're actually going to build. We don't know what we're going to do yet. This is kind of like what we're thinking, something like this, but we're not sure. And so I wanted to give you something, to give you some ideas of what we're thinking of, and show you how this can work out and be a great opportunity for all of us. This building right here is actually a gymnasium. It's what's called a gymnatorium. It's got a gymnasium in the center of it that works for long-term growth as an auditorium as well. I'll show you some pictures here in a few moments. But the gymnatorium would be the logical next step of growth for us, because we can use it as a gymnasium as well as an auditorium. It will provide for us the opportunity to, when we grow out of it, to use it for school functions, to use it for, we'll go over some things here, to use it for a host of different things, and I'll show you for that. We're going to look at projected growth between 500 to 600 every week into this building. And when we get to that level, then we're going to have to start thinking, what are we going to do long term for a larger auditorium seating between 12 and 1,500. This is a picture of a friend of mine who's a pastor in Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh. We went to school together. Their church has just gone through this building program, and they're actually quite a bit more advanced than we are at this stage, but and are going. They have advanced beyond where we're going to advance in our next step. But I wanted to give you some understandings. This is the seating in the gymnatorium that they built. Now, as you can see, where the pastor sits up there with the choir loft and whatnot behind him, and it's just a standing choir loft. This is just some ideas that they did. This is a full-size high school gymnasium. We could host basketball games with our school as it grows. We can host all different kinds of events and things like that in a building like this. But as you can see, it doesn't look a whole lot like a gymnasium. It actually looks more like an auditorium. Here's the picture of it with no people in it. Looking at it from the platform, as you can see where the pulpit is there, the amount of seating that's put in there. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the basketball hoop, just barely suspended there in the picture. And this auditorium can be taken down. It has facilities in it for the thing to be used as a recreational facility as well as a church service. This is it being used as a, it looks like they're doing kneel-down volleyball or something here, and it's being used as a facility for gymnasium. This is it decorated for a wedding. As you can see, it can be decorated very ornately. Here it is on their opening Sunday, and the opening Sunday there with the 925 people in the auditorium. You can see that it's rather full and compacted. This is a mock diagram of the possibility of what this auditorium and building would look like inside. As you can see, the potential seating in the center, and then around it, in the perimeter, the opportunity for classroom space for the future for Sunday schools, for a better washroom space, a foyer, and different things like that. And now this building would have 2 stories in it. So you would actually see the gymnasium all the way up through 2 stories, but round about it on the perimeter, there would be 2 floors of classrooms and things like this that we would be able to possibly work with. Like I said, we have consulted some architects. We have not really any plans yet put together because everything has to be sized for our location, what we can do in accordance with our code, city codes, and all the different things that we have to deal with here on this level. And so we'll have to work, and that will be a fluctuating process until we get to a point where we know exactly what we can do. Next. Advantages to a gymnatorium. First of all, space for continued growth. We're going to need, if you don't have space to grow, you won't grow. Now, I'm going to be obvious for a second. I wish we were in 1972 again. I was in Jack Van Impe Crusades in the 70s. I remember they'd put, you'd have a 16,000 seat auditorium and they'd put 35,000 people in there. No air conditioning, everybody sweating, singing hymns. The altars packed with people, revival going on. How many of you remember those days? You were involved in some of that? How many of you remember when you could put, you could overpack an auditorium and nobody really even cared about it? Those were the days people thought like that, and today people just don't think like that. They're looking for a comfort zone. And I wish I could deal with everybody the way that I wish they would think like I think, but they don't. And so we have to create an environment for them to feel comfortable in, and that's what this process is part of. Secondly, the ability to plan and host large-scale events, conferences, youth rallies, things like that that we want to eventually host here and reach our area. Right now, if we had a youth rally here, it would be utter, absolute chaos because we cannot function within this facility the way it's... we can only seat about 100 people in the basement. I guarantee you we could have a youth rally here and bring in 400 to 500 young people at one time. Where would we put them? And so it's very difficult to deal with those kinds of things. Next, number 3, space for school growth. We want to have our Christian school functioning strong, servicing our parents, our young people. Number 4, a high-capacity fellowship hall area, which we do not possess right now. We struggle. Our Valentine's banquet, which I'll give you some details on here in a few moments, but our Valentine's banquet, we could barely hold 100 for our Valentine's banquet. And so we need to have some of these greater spaces in order to grow into. Right now we have the property. Let me see if I can get to this. Right now, if you could see this area right here to here to here to here to here to here to here. Do you see this? Can everybody see the dot? All right. This is the ball diamond right here. That's actually the backstop for the ball diamond. This line right here is roughly around the second and third base line on the field. All right? We do not own this. This is Pastor Grubaugh's. The church gave this to him many years ago. The church owned it years ago, but it was a gift to him, I believe, for his retirement or something. But then this part, so we only have this space right here. This is our space that we have to grow in. Now, of course, this was given to us by Streetsboro Crossings, this front part right here, just this past year. That's a tremendous thing. And then we go to here and then back to this part. So we only have this space to work in, all right? And so the only logical place to grow forward is in this space right here. And so the next slide will show you that. If you can see the white square that's there in that space as it's blown up a little bit closer. Now this is not the exact place. We don't know exactly because of the offsets and things that will have to happen. But somewhere in this area, we are planning to make this thing happen if it's possible. We do believe that it is possible. Now, whether it connects to the building, either actually connects or does not, one of the hindrances that we have is if we connect anything to the old building, the older building has to be brought up to speed with current code, which would mean sprinkler systems and everything through here. It would cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this building up to code if we added on with a new structure. All right, the rules have changed and we have to play by the rules. And so we have to make something happen within that which we have. And so we're going to be working with some architects to go ahead and do that. Proposed timeline. In 2012 of January, which is right now, the men have given me permission to request that we begin to raise money. We need to start now. If we're going to build this in the future, we can't decide to raise money in 1 week and begin to build. It's going to take a great deal of time to raise the kind of money it's going to take to do this. This is no small project. So we need to begin raising money even today. Next, sometime in March, we're going to host our first fundraising banquet. This is not where we all get together and have fun and have a fundraising banquet. That's not what this is about. This is about us getting every friend, every family member, every rich guy that we know, every person that we know, and we're going to take a part in getting them to come to this banquet. This is for them, because we want to give them our vision. There are presidents of companies that would do nothing more than love to invest. Companies set aside money to give to charitable organizations, and we want to try to show them what we're doing in the community, and we're going to take that advantage and see if we can bring our vision to them and get them on board with us. So our first banquet will be held sometime, we think, in March. It might go a little later than that, but this is a tentative timeline. Next, hoping to get all of our plans approved and our contractors lined up somewhere in October through December of 2012. It may even take longer than this. This kind of stuff is notoriously slow, but if we try to do everything we can to make it, to facilitate it, we should be able to get it done within a reasonable period of time. Now, I want on March the 4th, the opening week this year, opening week, March the 4th of our Stewardship Month. In a little bit, I'm going to give you something. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen on March the 4th for our church, all right? Next, in 2013, March of 2013, we're going to host our second fundraising banquet. This is going to be where you're going to engage in different opportunities with people from this March until next March. You're going to try to get other people on board. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Unless we've got some people in this room that have more money than I understand, we're going to need some outside help to do this. And I would like to have as many people that are friends of yours, Christians that you know, different things like that. I want to give them the opportunity to invest in the Lord's work in this way. And I think if we do that, we'll see a tremendous increase from that. I was reading and praying, and as the Lord's speaking to my heart about this, and God said, listen, there's much in the coffers of the righteous. And not only that, God has an uncanny way of blessing the faith of His people. And we'll see that, and we'll continue to see that as we go forward. But by the time we get to March, we're going to need probably that last shot in the arm to get us over the top. And that's what this second banquet's about. In 2013, somewhere between February and April, we would like to actually begin construction on a project. And knowing what it is, and then hopefully by October of 2013 actually have a completed construction phase in the auditorium where we can actually meet in the auditorium. Now, we are not stopping to rest. I'm sorry if we're a little tuckered out. I'm going to just tell you this. God never said you're going to be completely rested as a Christian. All right? And if you're engaged in accomplishing the Great Commission, you're going to be tired. Okay? I'm sorry I can't offer you a comfort right now in this life every time you come in. But some of you are very comfortable during the messages. I've noticed as you've been sawing logs in the auditorium during the preaching. But some of you are getting quite a bit of comfort when you get here, catching up on your sleep. But we'd like to, by October of 2013, to have the auditorium part of the building completed so that we can enter into that. And hopefully coincide that event with a regional youth rally, not asking Christian kids who are in churches around here to come. They're already saved, they're already in a good church, and it's not really our intent to try to reach a bunch of saved kids who are already happy in a church, who already have a pastor. That's not our job. Our job is to go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in. Bob Holmes is going to come in tentatively. That's what we're looking at. And we're going to host rallies in all the local public schools. Bob was here. He preached for you several weeks ago. If you remember him, he was quite encouraging. But he is the one-man volleyball team. And many of you got to meet him. And he's tremendous. He's won 10,000 volleyball games or something like that, and only lost a couple hundred or something. But he plays right now he's playing against the Minnesota Vikings, the football team. And he goes and plays all over the place. Many of you were here and saw the completed video and everything of all that. And so we're going to work with Bob Holmes. There's Cal Ripken right there of the Baltimore Orioles, Washington Redskins, different teams here. And Bob is going to work with us getting in the local schools in the area. The Kent schools, the Ravenna schools, the Streetsboro schools. And he has tremendous results in those schools reaching the teenagers. We're actually going to go out there as we reach these schools and coincide that with a First Baptist Church youth rally here on our premises at the same time. And so Bob Holmes is going to come in. We're going to be teaming up with First Baptist Church of Hammond. And at that point, we're going to have preaching by some of the most famous youth preachers in the nation. We're looking, and my goal is to add 300 families to our church that fall. Add 300 families to our church that fall. From October through Christmas, I want 300 new families reached and connected some way into this church through this process. I believe we can do it. We're going to create an entire new aspect to our youth ministry within the public school format, and we're going to reach out there. Listen, folks, we cannot sit around and be comfortable because we're Christians and other people are going to hell and sit back and say it's okay because I'm okay. Listen, that's not the Great Commission. The Great Commission is to get out there and get those people saved, and that's going to take some work, and it's going to take some dedication, and it's going to take some passion from God's people. It can't be done by accident. And other people are trying. But somebody has to push through the barriers. And if we sit around and wait for somebody else to do it, it'll never happen. By doing that, reaching out to these young people, we can get in their homes. The hardest part is getting in the house. When we've helped a teenager, that teenager's attitude's changed some. That dad's going to think a little different about First Baptist Church in Streetsboro. That mom's going to think a little different about First Baptist Church in Streetsboro. And now we have the opportunity to step into their living room, win them to Christ at their kitchen table, and get them connected to the First Baptist Church as well. That's our plan to fill the building, or begin to fill the building right after that. We're going to continue to follow up with the Rally teens and their parents to get them in church and to see a great work happen. If you'll look at this last slide, the Nehemiah Project. The one thing that grieves me more than any other thing in our country today that cuts my heart, and I believe ought to cut to the heart of every Christian, is the absolute disregard that the unsaved have for the people of God, for what they could do, what they should do, and God's real working in the lives of His people. The world today sees that oftentimes. They mock us. They do not understand God. They do not see the power of His working. They do not know the might of His hand. You say, preacher, you got to be crazy. Haven't you heard the economy's going down? Yeah, I know, but God doesn't work in economies, my friend. God works supernaturally to do things, and economies don't make differences to Him. I said, God, why didn't you pick the Depression of 1939 to help me build this building? He said, well, they're saying now that this might even get worse. That it might just be the greatest that's ever been. And what great way that God could show the people of this area that something is happening real and powerful at the First Baptist Church than to have in one of the down economies in America's history to see a great building project happen. For 120 years, the walls of Jerusalem lay in waste. The people of God were mocked and ridiculed. Sanballat and Tobiah, not of the people of God, connected, cursed, and thought and belittled the people of God. And when Nehemiah was commissioned to do the job that God had called him to do, and his heart was grieved, and he wanted to see God's name lifted up, he went into a situation that all others thought was impossible. For 120 years, the gates were burnt, and the walls were down. My friends, do you know how long the man of God, when he stepped in to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem with the people of God, do you know how long it took for 120 years of failure to be success? 52 days. In 52 days, what couldn't be done in 120 years was done. Not because the people were wealthy, but because the people were unified. Not because Nehemiah was necessarily a great leader, but he did have a great commission. Not because there wasn't opposition, because there was opposition all over the book of Nehemiah. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the book is about the opposition. But in spite of all those failures, miracles happen. And you know why they happen? Because God doesn't shine the brightest, my friends, in a bright light. He shines the brightest in darkness. And I believe the First Baptist Church of Streetsboro can do this. Now let me rephrase that. I believe God can do this. Not only do I believe He can do it, I believe we have to do it, because where are we going to put the people? We right now, I believe, almost have all the people in place right this second. Honestly, we have talented workers in this church. Our leadership is talented in our many ministries. I promise you, this could happen. In 30 days, if we wanted to, in 30 days, this church could have 500 people in it if we wanted to, with the current resources that we have now. We couldn't manage 500 people here, but we could have 500 in this building. We have enough bus ministry experience. We could rent buses for in a month. We could rent buses, and we could bring in bus kids. We could bring in their families. We can reach out. We could have a big drive. We could have 500 people in service. But that's not what we're looking to do. We're not looking to build a big day so we can say we had 500 in church once. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to transform lives. And that takes more than one service. It takes a lifestyle change for people to get on board and to be touched repetitively with the truths of God over the course of many years of life. And we have to create a structure whereby that can happen. And that's what I believe God is leading us to. But I believe God can do it. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and the hills the cattle walk on, the grass that grows on those hills. And if we have to cut hay to make this happen, He'll make the hay grow. Amen. This isn't even a blink on God's screen as far as His potential and capabilities. But He's going to work through us to get the job done. We don't know if we can keep this timeline, but we're going to work at it. We're working to do some things that are great here. I'm a fundamentalist. And there aren't very many fundamental churches that are surging forward. And I'm going to tell you today, if there's going to be one in this area that's going to surge forward and be the bright light of the Western Reserve, the fundamental, Baptist, King James Bible, soul-winning, in your face, you need to get saved because you're going to go to hell if you don't kind of church has got to be one of them here. And I ain't seeing anybody else step up to the plate, friends. Listen, I like to be all touchy-feely, but when it comes down to it, and you're laying on your deathbed and you're a few breaths from hell, somebody's got to have the strength and the courage to say, my friend, I have to set you straight. Those churches aren't around very much anymore. And if they are, they're not surging. They're not growing. We can't just sit around waiting for people to ask us, what must I do to be saved? The Great Commission wasn't about waiting. It was about going. And if we believe in the Great Commission, then we must go. So I ask you today as your pastor, will you pray about it? If the Holy Spirit tells you don't do a single thing, then you listen to the Holy Spirit. But I ask you to pray. I don't know what God's going to do, but I know He's going to do. He's going to do because it needs to be done. It's going to do because it's going to happen because His stamp of approval is on this ministry. It's going to happen because if no one else, if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? Look in Nehemiah chapter 6. I want you to see. The world looks at Christianity today. It's a laughingstock. It's a mockery. It's something for those who are weak-minded and can't handle their own problems and who have a struggle going through their daily lives. And it's for those who have to have a crutch. Look at verse 16 of Nehemiah chapter 6. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were round about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their own eyes. For they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. My friends, this area needs to know there's a God in heaven. And they need to be shaken to their core to see that. The First Baptist Church of Streetsboro needs to become that place where the transformation of people's lives become what we're known for. You can argue with the Bible. You can argue with personal struggles. You can argue with, I can't see God. I can't touch God. I don't know if He exists. But you know what no one can argue with? A transformed life. You can't argue with that. When somebody's life is transformed, that thing that transformed them is inarguable in their mind. When your life is changed, no one can convince you of anything else. We will continue with the process of life transformation here through a developing relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ in the lives of our people. And over a period of time, you may go someplace else to feel more comfortable. You may go someplace else because the music's a little different. You may go someplace else because maybe they give out more goodies or something like that. But we don't want anybody to be able to say they can go anyplace else better to get their life changed than the First Baptist Church of Streetsboro. And my friends, if we accomplish that task, I promise you, our God will smile upon us in an unusual way, because that is his heart above all things. They will know that God hath wrought this for us.
We thank you for investing your time today with us to see what's happened at First Baptist Church and what's going to happen in the future. We are so excited about everything that's going on around here. We need you on board. If there's any questions, you contact me. I'll do everything I can to try to answer them for you. We just want you to know that there's something going on here. God's blessing tremendously, and we want you to be a part of it. Thanks for watching.